Good morning and welcome to Enterprise Morning right here on Enterprise Television. I am Kende Boduri.
And I am Henry Igwebike.
All right, so it's a brand new day bringing fresh stories shaping Nigeria and beyond. We will kick off with today's newspaper review before diving into our main conversation of the day. Trust me, you don't want to miss a moment. Remember, you can be part of the conversation by dropping your comments, liking and following us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. So joining us to shed light on the matters at hand is Emeka Madwago. He is a journalist and a public affairs analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, Emeka Madwago.
Yes, good morning. My pleasure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so very much for making our time to be part of our show today. So I would love us to interestingly start with the Guardian newspaper. We have about 4 newspapers. I just hope that a time would permit us to go through so many of them. But let's start with the Guardian newspaper. Big story, Malema, Africa's future dependent on political economy in Nigeria and the South Africa.
Okay, we have FG, 1 trillion naira needed yearly to sustain school feeding program.
And also coalition ADC warn of looming security collapse, urge Tinubu to act.
Okay, we have US Obasanjo fled judiciary over perceived grafts.
And also we have on the bottom strip, the very bottom strip here, we have Benue Speaker resigns 48 hours after suspending 4 lawmakers.
We also have, still on the top strip, we have NLNG seals packed with gas suppliers to aid production expansion.
And also RFI opposition leaders collapse Kaduna SDP into the ADC.
Okay, Yoruba elders appeal to Oni and Alaafin to end rifts.
Emeka Madwago, all of us to take on the story. Federal government 1 trillion needed yearly to sustain school feeding program. Emeka, who is deceiving who at this point?
Are you there, sir?
When they talk about 1 trillion, the fact of the matter is that if there is one thing Nigerian politicians are adept at, is how to juggle figures, how to use figures to deceive. And we as journalists should ask them to drill down to the basics. They should give us data. 1 trillion to do what? Exactly. I mean, we have a situation where every year farmers incur billions of naira losses, post-harvest losses. And then you're talking about needing 1 trillion. We had actually said that government should be an off-taker of agricultural produce, from farmers, so that it can help them to maintain price stability. But the problem in Nigeria right now is the hoarding of food by all kinds of people, because Nigerians have this copycat mentality. They hear that, okay, you can keep food items for some time and then wait. When the prices go up, you offload, and make a profit. But it didn't happen this year because the Tinubu administration, for some time, imported food. But certain things like rice have not really gone down. And so these things, the bad roads, the multiple checkpoints, and the high cost of transportation have actually affected. And then also the high cost of fertilizer have affected food production. So when you talk about 1 trillion, I mean, school feeding program is just feeding pupils for once, just once in a day for just 5 days in a week. So how is the 1 trillion naira coming in? I think they're just trying to be mischievous. Thank you.
Okay, no, just the way you said, I think they are kind of maybe mischievous. But I just want to ask this question: should states or private partners share this funding and burden? Should they be part of this funding? Mr. Emeka?
Emeka, are you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, of course. That's why I'm saying that they're just trying to play on our intelligence. Look, feeding, school feeding should be a total package involving all of us, involving all Nigerians. I mean, there is this idea that we are an import-dependent country, but it's not true. Because I tell you what, due to the low performance of the Naira, Nigeria has been feeding neighboring African nations. Neighboring African nations have been dependent on Nigeria. You can imagine trailers of food produce that leave Nigeria every day to neighboring African countries because the CFA, which our neighbors use, is has a stronger purchasing power parity than the Naira. So they now load food. And then and then locally, poverty is rife. Poverty is rife. And the purchasing power of the people is low. So when you talk about food, if you go to the north, a friend of mine, said he went to some place and that if you look at the waste, everywhere. I saw a video the other day of a tomato market somewhere in the north. How farmers were just throwing away tomatoes at the end of the day, because they couldn't sell them because they had gone. So that they don't get bad in their possession. So now, I understand the Benue State government, for instance, has started a fruit juice factory. So if state governments, private individuals can, key into this school feeding of a thing, it's actually something that can generate employment because through it, you can spin off value chains right there on the farms, in Benue, Plateau, Taraba, Niger, and then across the nation generally. You can actually spin off value chains, processed food. So, that are easy to produce. You can even have fresh food if you have solid storage, regular power supply. Everybody, it will be a win-win situation at the end of the day. So, in answer to your question again, states should, be able to provide, should be able to invest in and make good profit, good revenues from the school feeding. Lagos State government is building an agricultural hub, and I think other states should emulate it. We shouldn't just wait for the federal government to release grains from the reserve, from the storage, because I understand that those reserves are even empty. So it is a welcome idea and it is good. But talking about spending, the people we have in government just enjoy talking about spending and spending. They don't major in things that will bring in revenue, and things that will make the economy to breathe, make the economy to grow. And that is a big issue. Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
While we, of course, talk about some of those things, I remember in the 70s, in the 80s, there used to be school feeding programs back in the days. Universities, people ate well, and never dependent on their parents and all. But lots of questions are raising. While these students get all the best in nutrition, what happens to the welfare of even the teachers and the school itself? Some of these schools do not have seats. They don't have tables and chairs, right? Those with table and chairs do not have good roofs. Some of the schools that you go to, there are no computer-based classes or whatever it is, labs where kids can learn, as opposed to what you see in private schools. So it's actually a big issue that we concentrate on feeding, but we don't concentrate on what will make the children themselves intelligent. But let's go to the Punch newspaper. We have the big story. Sick and stranded. Presidential order fails to curb soaring drug prices. Yes. You have two riders to that particular story. Essential medicine still unaffordable despite tax waivers. Pharmaceutical struggle amid weak Naira. What other story do we have there?
Okay, still on the Punch, we have We have PDP and EC gets zoning reports today amid convention crisis.
And also on the bottom strip here, we have a federal government shuts 22 illegal tertiary institutions.
Okay, still on the top strip, we have locals beg FG as Oshun Ondo federal roads crumble.
And also we have federal government begins phase 2 of 12,000 megawatts of a Siemens power project.
Yeah.
And there's this very interesting one here. Pregnancy faking. Widow nabbed with cocaine
In
Lagos.
So
which means all the women that are pregnant, you know, some of them might be false. They might be false. False pregnancy.
You know, when I saw the story, I'm like, are you serious? Like, I don't know if she had that mind. The question that came to my head was, do they still carry drugs? Like, I don't understand.
It's
how
big money. It's big business.
I know it's a big business, but then for you to have, you know, faked that pregnancy, right? And I understand the fact that people, ordinary people, like random people, they respect pregnant women.
Pregnant women.
You know, when they see them, they are like, oh, okay, please, ma, be careful and all
be
of
the
that.
first and all that.
So, is she now trying to tell us that, okay, even if pregnancy can be a way of, how do I put this word? Of establishing or coming up with
masquerading things that are not.
Exactly.
Well, it's a human angle story. Well,
Yes,
Emeka, I would love us to take to the matter. Seek and strand the presidential order fails to curb soaring drug prices. Or this as a result of those who are supposed to make these decisions not really concerned about what happens here because they can take care of themselves in other parts of the world.
Well, even in those other parts of the world, are they not dying? Are they living? I mean, even when they run to other parts of the world, I mean, you see them dying. So it's not, it's just about people living in a fool's paradise. You know, the price of drugs have gone up very much because, I mean, the status quo remains. Most of the drugs are imported. Even the ones, I mean, the foreign exchange is high, you know, I mean, so government has to do something about reducing the foreign exchange from 1,650 to about 900 or 800. Yes, because the floating of the naira has had negative consequences. Forget about all the talk, you know, all the baloney they've been selling that it has brought this, it has done that. They have been silently defending the naira. The CBN governor was on one forum some days ago, and you know, he was trying to be very careful, you know, but clearly it showed that they had been sort of, you know, trying not to allow the roof to come down on everybody's head. So foreign exchange is still high. The exchange rate is still a problem. And, you know, much of last year, some pharmaceutical companies were given licenses to produce, but their inputs are largely imported. So even where they produce some of those things locally, you know, I mean, they still need to, you know, so they still need to source and spend foreign exchange. Even though the prices of some drugs, well, some people claim are coming down, but the major drugs for treating major ailments are still, you know, expensive. So I mean, if the price is reduced, of course, the cost, you know, the Nigerians will feel the effect. So it's, you know, we are not producing much locally, and so, you know, people use their licenses to go and import drugs. So where do we go from here? We are not. It's not a convenient situation. Thank you.
I don't even pray for my enemy to fall here, because once you think about, you're not even thinking about the money you're spending. What about if you're being given different kind of drugs? Like these are something I'm like, this our body system is really taking a whole lot. I just hope things become better in terms of, you know, in terms of this drugs prices.
Maybe until when our leaders begin to take care of themselves here Imagine if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, goes to Lasut or Lut. Why would Lut be the first-class tertiary institution?
Do you understand?
But because he would never, ever go there.
And he's not the only one. Even our leaders, they just find it. I don't know why they find it so comfortable going, like traveling out to get themselves treated.
Well,
I just hope they put our health system, they put it in a good condition.
Yeah, very well.
So we'll have...
All right, let's go to the Vanguard newspaper.
All right.
We have the big story. Economy, industrialization in jeopardy as agri manufacturing sink.
Okay, still on Daily Trust, right?
The Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, we have gridlock. Lagos halts work on Ogudu-Ifako Bridge.
And also insecurity, concerned stakeholders decry killing of 10,207 persons in just 2 years.
Labour tackles FG over proposed pay rise for political office holders.
And also NBA conference, Sultan Mba Malema attacks lawyers on justice protection of the poor. Okay,
we have imported steel products drain over $4 billion foreign exchange annually.
And also ADC to Tinubu declare state of emergency in Katsina, Zamfara over insecurity.
Wow.
Emeka, what is good for the goose is equally good for the gander.
Exactly.
If President Bola Ahmed Tinubu could allow for state of emergency in River State, why is it finding it difficult to equally allow the same thing for Katsina and Zamfara?
Well, state of emergency is not something you declare whimsically. The one in River State is still a problem. It's still a problem because nothing basically, I mean, when I was saying it, that it was contrived, that the so-called security challenges were contrived. Some people said, no, I was trying to downplay the situation. So where are the security challenges? Where are the things that made them declare? They just wanted to capture River State, that's all. Capture River State and its treasury using a pliant rabble rouser and mockraker, and that's what they did. They stopped short of that in Osun State because they knew that if they tried in Osun State, it would have been, the backlash would have been unprecedented. So what did they do? They just silently withheld Osun State's allocations. I mean, this is gangsterism, the official gangsterism. Then look at Katsina and Zamfara. Of course, you've heard the strange prescriptions of this chief of defense staff, Musa, General Musa, saying that Nigerians should adopt karate, taekwondo to combat terrorists who are armed with AK-47 rifles, who are armed with rocket launchers, aircraft, anti-aircraft guns. I mean, the thing is that, look, clearly all these service chiefs are tired. They should be retired. They should be retired. They should be replaced with younger and more experienced, more professional, members of the armed forces. They are clearly tired. There's nothing new they have to show. We have a Nigerian Navy, for instance, that has not been able to stop pipeline vandalism. It had to take a private security contractor, Tompolo, Tantita Services, Security Services, to bring down pipeline vandalism, and they raise production quota. Raise Nigeria's oil production to 1.7 barrels. So what are these people really doing? What are they doing in office? They're just there occupying seats, and making weird, bizarre recommendations. Look at the former chief of army staff, Buratai, saying that that Tinubu should lock down Nigeria like COVID style and let everybody join hands to fight insecurity. Look at VDM, that social, critic and content creator. You saw the video he showed about them, tracking the kidnappers and all of that. Look at what Harrison Gwamishu has been doing in Delta State. Now, that gives us the symptoms of a failed state where, the government is so helpless in securing the society that it is now private individuals who are taking up who are taking up government responsibilities. That is gross irresponsibility, as far as I'm concerned. And so this is what you see in Katsina and Zamfara, because both states, I mean, even if you declare a state of emergency in both states, you're not going to achieve anything at all. In fact, the situation might even get worse, because, I mean, if you look at it, they have a long, porous border. The Northwest generally has a long, porous border, and that gives bandits, terrorists rather, that gives them the advantage to come and do some crime, kill people, tax farmers, and run away. Northwestern Nigeria has a long and porous border with Niger Republic. And those areas of Niger Republic are largely ungoverned spaces. So, I mean, there's smuggling going on, like in Kebbi, for instance. Smuggling of rice on the River Niger, is going on very seriously into Kebbi. Katsina, by land, smuggling. And so they add, when there isn't rice to smuggle, they now go and attack communities. And the interesting thing is that all of these things are not just being done by terrorists, terrorists moving all over the place. Also, these things also have to do with communities, rogue elements within communities, preying on other communities, preying, on other people, preying on farmers, because this is the harvesting season, preying on farmers and committing a lot of havoc. The Zamfara state has, gold, copper, lithium, which has attracted different kinds of people, Nigerians, foreigners, name it, who are suspected to be using these terrorists, to keep the people at bay, to drive the people away, and then mine all those minerals and take them out through illegal airstrips. Then of course, it's sad that the situation in Libya is unstable. A lot of these African countries in the Sahel are unstable. Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Libya, they're unstable. So terrorists just move from those places down to Nigeria because it affords them, an open chance to be able to make money and sustain their criminal activities. So that is why it's not easy, it's not easy to deal with the Zamfara security challenge. But if government is serious, it will be able to deal with them. You won't do only a ground offensive. You're going to use your aerial power very well, very effectively, because these guys also use their drones to attack our troops. So if we ought to have said it, that clearly we should upgrade the threat level, our security threat level, and just clearly tell ourselves the truth. We're at war in the north, and then declare all-out war. So what you're doing is you're not treating banditry or insurgency, but this is a war from foreign elements, and you go all, excuse me, you go all out. You go all out, to wipe, just to wipe out this threat. At least bring it to the barest minimum. Thank you.
On and
Thank
on,
you.
on this particular matter, but of course, every day news stories, very sad ones. These were states before now that used to contribute to the GDP of Nigeria during the days of the groundnut pyramids, the soybeans and all. But unfortunately, whilst the lands still remain, we do not have the produce from the land. Rather, we have an opposite of anarchy, of lots of bad issues coming from that particular region of the country. And not just on that region. The southeast, the same thing. South, the same thing. Kidnappings taking over the country. While our security architecture sit back and watch and ask us to pray and to fence Nigeria.
If we don't work towards the prayer, then I'm not sure if it's going to even work out, because as you're praying, you're also curbing all this insecurity or all these things that makes it difficult for even Nigerians to go out to get their daily during their daily activities or
Yeah.
to get food to eat. Just
Very
hope
true.
everything.
All right, we would leave it at this particular point, and just to let us know that Emeka will be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. ADC calls for state of emergency in Katsina and Zamfara as that toll arises in a beat. It's still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere.
I'll be right back.
So very much for being back, and if you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to declare a state of emergency in Katsina and Zamfara state due to a surge in violent attacks that have reportedly killed over 40 persons in just 2 months. In a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, the party condemned the massacre of 30 worshippers in the Katsina mosque and a burning of 20 villagers in their homes, calling this event clear evidence of Nigeria's failed security system.
ADC criticized the federal government's handling of the crisis and slammed President Tinubu for focusing on international engagements while Nigerians face severe security threats. Now, the party also condemned the PDP governors for holding a political meeting in Zamfara shortly after a deadly attack, calling their actions insensitive and out of touch with the suffering on the ground.
Very true. And beyond the call for emergency measures, the ADC demanded a complete overhaul of Nigerian security architecture, citing the Chief of Defense Staff call for citizens to learn self-defense as proof of institutionalized failure. The party accused both APC and the PDP of prioritizing politics over the lives and the welfare of Nigerians, stating that neither party has shown genuine concern for the people. We have Emeka Madunagu to take us on that particular one, though we've done a little deep dive into the matter. Emeka, I still want to ask, you, of course, you did mention a little bit of it on the CDS asking that Nigerians should learn karate. And you equally did mention about the very dark man's issue.
Yeah.
But I'd love us to speak to this matter. Is it that our Nigerian military personnel have lost morale? Because given the issue of a very dark man under reference, if not for the gusto of that young man, very dark man, I don't think they would have rescued the surviving driver who was shot.
Yeah.
So how bad is this situation really? How that Nigerian military have relegated everything to the background, especially their responsibility?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'll say that the call by the ADC, African Democratic Congress, is irresponsible. I mean, we fought so hard. I was one of those, on the streets, fighting for the military to return to the barracks. So, but it's sad that, civilians have not been able to manage democracy. So, from time to time, they, look in the direction of the barracks and they want the military to come and resolve their problems. That is the hangover of military rule mentality, and that is very shameful. It's disgusting. ADC should just not make such a call again because it's highly irresponsible. We should be able to solve our problems as Democrats. I mean, and what is the basic problem in Nigeria? 70% of our security issues arise from socioeconomic factors. People can't get food to eat. There's no job to do. And so there are enough idle hands to engage in criminal activities, and these things are funded by banditry, insurgency, terrorism, theft. So when these criminals burn people in their homes, what they just want to do is to give an advance notice to other communities that, look, we will be as brutal as possible, as devious as possible by the time we get to you if you don't cooperate. And then it's also a challenge to the government of Nigeria to say, listen, we'll go to any length. We will burn your citizens in their homes. We will do anything, and everything. The gloves are off to make you realize that you cannot joke with us. So what do? You have to look at the pattern. What is the problem? Who are these guys? Are these guys terrorists from the ungoverned spaces of the Sahel? Are these guys breakaway elements of terrorist groups like Boko Haram, Ansaru, Mahmuda, and the other bands of criminals around the area? What is their modus operandi? What are they working on, ideology, or are they just plain criminals? Just a higher level of armed robbers? Yes. Are these, what kind of people are these? So when you do that, you now know how to organize your threat level. You get credible intelligence, and the people are willing to supply intelligence. But the sad thing is that the armed forces, directly answering your question, the armed forces have not been allowed to really deal with this threat. We've heard stories of Boko Haram, suspected Boko Haram terrorists arrested and released on orders from above. These things were happening in previous administrations, and we thought, who are those who give these orders? There was this story, recently, that the forces were closing in on Bello Tuji, a horrible criminal, terrorist in the north, and they were closing in on him when an order came. Oh, no, retreat. He has pleaded. He has shown willingness to surrender. What sort of a thing is that? And then you have the repentant terrorists. You say they're repentant terrorists. Now, somebody painted a picture, of the widows of members of the armed forces slain troops, standing at the gate of a military facility and asking for their husband's entitlements. While inside a hall in that place, you had young men, in shining white attire, going through a repentant Boko Haram program, rehabilitation program, reintegration program. And then where is the motivation for the armed forces to put in their best? Where is the motivation? Those who came out to cry out, a general who came out to cry out that his troops ran out of ammunition, was he not court-martialed? Was he not demoted in this same country? Then how about the looting of funds for the warfare, for the fight against insurgency, the looting of the funds? Then how about, where are the Tucano jets that former President Muhammadu Buhari, paid for, which, through an illegal means, because that man was a serial violator of the nation's laws. So where are the Tucano jets? This is not the dry season. This is the rainy season. Yes, you tell me grass has grown, but it's also not difficult for the Tucano jets to operate. Why have we not seen successes? Some days ago, a video came out, of a forest somewhere in the southeast where, militants, insurgents, terrorists had killed, there were skeletons of people who had been kidnapped from neighboring, nearby communities and, killed and dumped in those places. And the people of those areas gave the names of the victims. They've identified the criminals behind this heinous act. One of such, insurgents was even on video the other day. I saw the video on Facebook, where he listed the names of some prominent politicians in the southeast state, whom he said were the ones that invited them to come and, carry out some security clearance operations, and then later turn around to brand them as terrorists. One of the people they mentioned is the serving commissioner in the southeast state. What has happened? Everything swept under the carpet. And then you are talking of karate and judo and all that. I mean, look, face the issues. Let there be accountability for every fund, for every kobo spent on security. And let there be accountability in terms of culpability. Anybody who is involved in all this in any way or the other should be brought to book. There should be no sacred cows. You should not protect people. If people have stolen funds for security, why have they not been prosecuted? You've had the Dasuki Gate for 10 years now, and nothing has come out of it, to the extent that the court had to tell the federal government to close this case in the Dasuki Gate matter. That had taken so long. So you look at the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, it gives a different directive about how cases should progress. But when you have constant political interference, so how can you make progress? How can there be security? You will have politicians who maintain these gangs, openly use these gangs. The same people telling you, that you should go for judo and karate. They keep quiet. They turn, they look away from threat to security coming from bigotry, coming from the misuse of social media. Why are we fooling ourselves? It's just living in a fool's paradise. So until we are ready to really deal with insecurity, it is because it's not affecting them. That is it. They move about in convoys, in heavy convoys. But let me tell you, one day, they will find out that, look, even 1 million guns cannot secure them. Thank you.
Much, Emeka. You actually have poured out lots of things, and I just hope that those that we're talking to are listening. I just sincerely hope that they are listening, because it's not rocket science actually to get things right. Because asking that Nigerians should learn karate, it means that what we have is an Israeli kind of organization where everyone is almost a military serving personnel. And the question is, how does an economy or society survive with such a mentality? Kehinde, just imagine you are a karate.
I don't want to even imagine myself in that kind of state. Because where do I even start from? Because I'm saying we should learn karate. Well, is it more of like, is it making it be looking like, okay, we're having this self-defense, like self-defense? Yeah. Because I think when I went through the story, I saw when part of self-defense that they're going to be releasing, it's going to be an institutional I've forgotten
measure
the
ensure
something like that,
that we are trained to defend ourselves.
Exactly. And you know what it means, taking a gun. We're going to be working with guns, and now telling us that we're going to learn karate. It is well.
It's well, but Emeka, allow us to speak to this issue. And Christopher Musa equally did say that part of the reasons he suggested for karate for Nigerians is because in Europe, for example, every European knows how to swim. It's a mandate for you to learn how to swim. And part of that is that in the inadequate military response time, Musa highlighted the bad roads and terrains in Nigeria hinder the military swift response to bandits and terrorist attacks, leaving citizens vulnerable while awaiting help. So do you think that is a good suggestion, especially at this point when NEPA don't take light? Do you